Cumhurbaşkanı Erdoğan'ın kaleme aldığı "Daha Adil Bir Dünya Mümkün" isimli kitap bu hafta raflarda yerini aldı. Kitaba göre Erdoğan, daha demokratik, şeffaf ve hesap verebilir bir dünya düzeni hedefliyormuş. Ancak yönettiği ülkede ulaşmaya çalıştığı hedeflerse tamamen farklı olsa gerek. İşte geçtiğimiz bir haftada yaşananlar.
Speaking at the İdere-İkizdere Road and Tunnels opening ceremony, President Erdogan targeted those who resisted to protect their living spaces against the stone quarry project that Cengiz Construction, which is one of the favorite construction companies of the government, wants to build in the İşkencedere Valley in İkizdere district of Rize.
Türkiye'nin değişik yerlerinden ne kadar sol varsa, komünist varsa alıp buraya geliyorlar, neymiş? Bizim önümüzü kesecekler. Siz bu milletin önünü kesemezsiniz.
The local residents who have been fighting against the quarry for 140 days said, "We are not against investment. We are not against the logistical port either. What we are against is plundering of our nature, the cutting of our trees, and the destruction of our living spaces. But we cannot make ourselves clear," said.
The Democracy in Progress Party's deputy chairman in charge of law and justice policies and Istanbul Parliament member Mustafa Yeneroğlu launched a 6-month report card of the Human Rights Action Plan, which President Erdogan announced to the public with a big ceremony on March 2, 2021. According to the Great Report, one of the 6 targets predicted to be completed in 1 month in the action plan were realized. 16 out of 40 3-month targets and only 20 out of 84 6-month targets were achieved so far. In total, only 36 of the 130 targets were implemented. In other words, while Erdogan's Human Rights Action Plan failed, the government extended the authorities of the state of emergency for another year, and now a new censorship against social media is on the way.
The Directorate of Religious Affairs supported the social media interventions of the government. The Directorate of Religious Affairs Chairman Ali Erbaş said, "The establishment of legal mechanism that will determine the legal framework regarding the use of social media and building a strong awareness on the matter is an irrevocable necessity." Erbaş prayed at the opening ceremony of the Supreme Court of Appeals for the new judicial year between the President of the Court of Cassation and Erdogan. Speaking about the issue, the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, Mustafa Şentop, said, "One of the biggest threats we faced is digital fascism." Meanwhile, the Media Research Association has prepared a report on how the social media law, which came into force in October 2020, affected the freedom of the press. According to the data shared by the association upon examining 658 censored news stories, corruption and irregularity was in the first place with 336 content, and abuse of office was in second place with 308 content. Those who demanded censorship the most were people carrying the title business people, ministers, and high-level bureaucrats.
According to the news Bianet compiled from local and national newspapers, men killed at least 34 women and 6 children in August. At least 61 women were subjected to male violence. In the first 8 months of 2021, as Turkey left the Istanbul Convention with a decision made by Erdogan at midnight, men killed 208 women, harassed 106 women, abused 98 children, and raped 73 women. Men forced at least 429 women to sex work, inflicted violence on at least 552 women, and injured them. In the first 8 months of 2021, the deaths of 153 women were reported as suspicious in the press, while men killed at least 21 children.
The police officer who killed 7-year-old Miraç Miroğlu by running over the child with an armored vehicle was released. Miroğlu was cycling on the street in Şırnak, İdil, on the evening of September 3 before being killed. According to the data of human rights associations, 42 civilians, including 20 children, have died under armored police vehicles since 2008. Law enforcement officers continue to be protected by the armor of impunity in the investigations and prosecutions.
Konya Chief Public Prosecutor's Office asked the Ministry of Justice whether the security camera footage of the event in which 7 people from the same family were murdered in the Meram district would be shown to the family lawyer. The WhatsApp group chats of the Kelesh and Altun families, where 11 people were arrested, including the murder suspect, was not shared with the lawyer. Lawyer Abdurrahman Karabulut spoke on the negative response to their claims and said, "The prosecutor's office does not share important evidence with us. These 2 pieces of evidence are examples of this," and stated that the right to defense was violated.
After the September 1st World Peace Day rally organized in Istanbul was banned by the Interior Ministry, the police intervened in the press statement attempted to be made by the Labor, Peace and Democracy forces at Taksim Square. At least 57 people were detained, and the People's Democratic Party HDP Istanbul Parliament member Musa Piroğlu was surrounded with police shields for about 2 hours.
Bu rezillik, bu iktidarın rezilliğidir. Mafya baronları sokağa salanlar, katilleri sokağa salanlar, tecavüzcüleri sokağa salanlar, barınçılarını duymasını istemiyor.
Fashion designer Barbaros Şansal was sentenced to 3 months and 22 days in prison at the Istanbul 52nd Criminal Court of First Instance on the charge of denigrating the state upon the complaint of President Erdogan, and the court did not delay the execution of the sentence. Şansal was prosecuted due to the words he used in a video he shared on his Twitter account. Şansal was previously deported from northern Cyprus after Turkey's pressure due to another video he shared in 2017 was attacked at the airport and detained for 2 months.
The first hearing of the lawsuit filed against the former director of the Pir Sultan Abdal Cultural Association and writer Erdal Yıldırım was held at Istanbul 14th Assize Court due to making terrorist organization propaganda through his social media posts between 2015 and 2018. Yıldırım is accused of commemorating Ibrahim Kaypakkaya at his grave in Çorum, with his posts in which he reacted to the massacres of ISIS in Afrin and Kobani, and the display of the body of a woman killed in Bartı district of Muş on the street. The next hearing of the case was scheduled for November 4.
A lawsuit was filed against Emine Şenyaşar, whose husband and 2 sons were killed in the attack of the Justice and Development Party parliament member Ibrahim Halil Yıldız's bodyguards and relatives in 2018. In the indictment accepted by the Urfa Second Criminal Court of First Instance, it was claimed that Şenyaşar had insulted a public official with her words on the 86th day of the Justice Watch she started in front of the Urfa courthouse. The first hearing of the case was scheduled for November 12th. The Şenyaşar family's Justice Watch in front of the Urfa courthouse has been ongoing for 186 days.
The first hearing of the lawsuit filed against writer Yavuz Ekinci, who was prosecuted on charges of propagandizing for a terrorist organization for the Nevroz and Kobani-themed messages he shared on a social media account, was held at the Istanbul 24th High Criminal Court. The case was adjourned to January 11, 2022.
A lawsuit was filed against 8 people who were detained during the Istanbul Pride Parade, which was held on June 27th and banned by the Beyoğlu District Governor's Office on the charge of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations. The first hearing of the case will be held on November 2nd at the Istanbul 16th Criminal Court of First Instance.
The Contemporary Journalists Association has published the Media Monitoring Report, which evaluated the prominent developments of August regarding censorship, threats, violence, detainments, and prosecutions against journalists. According to the data of the report, 6 journalists were detained last month, 8 journalists were beaten, 1 journalist was attacked with guns, and 1 journalist was targeted. Access to 4 news websites and 208 news articles were banned. In the lawsuits filed against journalists, 1 journalist faced an imprisonment sentence for up to 3 years, while 2 journalists faced to pay a compensation of 100,000 liras due to their news coverage. 3 journalists testified with the scope of 3 new investigations. 2 journalists were sentenced to a total of 10 years and 5 months of imprisonment.
A lawsuit was filed against journalist Baransel Arca due to insulting the president through a social media post in 2016. The journalist will be prosecuted at the Istanbul Second Criminal Court of First Instance. Arca stated that the lawsuit was open to punish journalism using his news coverage on the suspicious death of Yaldana Kahraman. On the other hand, a new investigation was opened against the journalist due to his news about Kahraman's death. Arca announced that the investigation was initiated upon the complaint of Justice and Development Party Parliament member Tolga Ar.
The Istanbul Chief Public Prosecutor's Office launched an investigation against journalist Mustafa Hosh for his remarks in a program on TRT TV on July 4, 2021. Hosh was summoned to testify with the scope of investigation launched upon the complaint of Nükhet Hodak, rector of 9 Eylül University in Izmir.
Dutch journalist Ralph Dekkers came to Turkey in 2015 to follow the arrival of people fleeing the intensifying conflict in Syria and was detained in the Yaylada district of Hatay on the grounds of taking pictures in military areas. The lawsuit filed against Dekkers has been concluded. The journalist was acquitted of the charge of violating the law on military forbidden zones and security zones number 2565 at Hatay Yaylada Criminal Court of First Instance.
Kocaeli Koz Daily Editor-in-Chief Gökhan Karabulut announced that his news articles on the investigation opened regarding the corruption allegations of Kandra municipality were banned from access with a decree issued by the Criminal Judicature of Peace.
The Radio and Television Supreme Council issued an administrative fine against Halk TV due to the criticism of show producer Ismail Saymaz against a woman reacting to the visit of Republican People's Party leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu in Çorum, using the words disgraceful, shameless. Criticizing the decision, Saymaz reminded that the Radio and Television Supreme Council had previously considered it a criticism when Republican People's Party Parliament member Ali Şeker was referred to as a pimp on Channel 24.
Laborist Movement Party spokesperson Özge Akman announced that an investigation was started against her due to public incitement towards resentment and hostility through a social media post she made, in which she drew attention to the police violence.
The prosecution of Democratic Regions Party provincial co-chair Seval Gülmez started after she was detained and arrested during the operations organized in April in Diyarbakır. Diyarbakır 11th Assize Court issued the release of Gülmez, who was charged with illegal organization membership due to the protests and demonstrations she participated in. The next hearing was scheduled for December 6th.
The lawsuit filed against former Dersim co-mayor Mehmet Ali Bul from the Democratic Regions Party, who was dismissed by the Interior Ministry in 2016 and was replaced with a trustee, was concluded. Prosecuted due to misconducting his duties through the co-chairman system, Bull was acquitted of all charges by Tunceli First Criminal Court of First Instance. The court indicated that the use of the word subject to the prosecution co-chairmanship does not constitute a crime. The decree was based on an expert report which stated that the word co-chairmanship does not create public damage.
The investigation opened against former Diyarbakır Bar Association Chairman Cihan Aydın and Antalya Bar Association Chairman Polat Balkan, Antep Bar Association Chairman Bektaş Şarklı, Diyarbakır Bar Association lawyer Hanefi Kandemir due to targeting those taking part in the battle against terrorism by sharing the joint declaration made by 53 bar associations regarding a quarrel between Cihan Aydın and a judge on social media was concluded with non-prosecution. The investigation opened against Mesopotamia Agency's managing editor Ferhat Çelik, who made the news coverage for these social media posts, was concluded with non-prosecution as well.
Mehmet Ali Sancaktutan, who was detained last June for criticizing President Erdogan and the economy during the street interview in Rize, was attacked by people who were stated to be Justice and Development Party members. Sancaktutan filed a complaint against the attackers on the charge of willful injury by receiving a battering report.
The translated comic book Heartstopper, written by English writer Alice Osman, was declared inappropriate by the Council to Protect Children from Obscene Publications. The book is about a character named Charlie who was bullied at school because of his sexual orientation and his experiences after meeting another young character named Nick.
Two women who participated in the demonstration organized on March 27 by Hatay Women's Strong Together platform to protest Turkey's withdrawal from the Istanbul Convention were fined 427 Turkish liras each for not following orders.
In the application made by 98 Haber's editor-in-chief Gökhan Biçici at the Constitutional Court due to the police violence he was exposed to as he was following news information during the Gezi Park protests, the Constitutional Court decided that there was a violation of the torture ban and a violation of freedom of expression and press freedom. A copy of the Constitutional Court decree was sent to the Istanbul Chief Public Prosecutor's Office in order for the investigation to be effectively conducted in line with the decree of violation. The investigation opened against the police officers had been previously concluded with impunity due to the lack of sufficient evidence and due to the perpetrators not being able to be identified.
The Constitutional Court decided that it was a violation of the right to meeting and demonstration that the government issued a protest and demonstration ban against those wanting to protest the refugee shelter construction in Maraş, issuing 10,000 Turkish liras of compensation to be paid to each applicant. The refugee shelter center construction had started in 2016 in Sivricehyük neighborhood of Maraş and had caused a reaction by the local residents. Afterwards, the government had issued a one-month protest and demonstration ban following the request of the Provincial Gendarmerie Command. The government had also extended the ban decree 4 times during the ongoing process.
The Constitutional Court decided that the freedom of expression of Kardelen Hasret Kaygusuz, who was dismissed from the university dormitory due to the expressions stated in the leaflets she distributed at the university cafeteria after the bomb attack in front of the Ankara train station on October 10, 2015, was violated. The Constitutional Court issued 8,100 Turkish liras of moral compensation to be paid to Kaygusuz and for retrial.
COGITO published the LGBTI pluses in the media monitoring report. In the report written by the program coordinator Yıldız Star, the news in the COGITO archive from the 80s to the present was analyzed in detail, and the frames and patterns in which LGBTI pluses appear in the news were conveyed. The report also included the cause of hate speech over the years and the relationship between the media and politics.
The Hate Speech Digital Archive, which consists of reports and news clippings produced within the scope of the Monitoring Hate Speech in the Media project carried out by the Hrant Dink Foundation between 2009 and 2019, has been launched. Within the scope of the project, ethnic and religious-based hate speech in the national and local print media in Turkey was scanned, the discriminatory, marginalizing and targeting texts were archived for 10 years, and media monitoring reports containing qualitative and quantitative analyses were prepared with this data. It is hoped that the media monitoring archive collection of the project, which is carried out in order to contribute to the fight against discrimination, to draw attention to the problem of hate speech and discriminatory speech, and to discuss the role played by the media in the production and dissemination of these discourses, will provide a resource for all researchers.
Demek ki Erdoğan kitabında yazdıklarını memleketi için hedeflemiyor. Aynesi iştir kişinin. Lafa bakılmaz derler. Her ne kadar birçok dile çevrilmesi planlarsa da kitabı, Türkiye'nin gerçekleri bambaşka şeyler söylüyor. Fazla söze ne hacet. Bu haftalık da bizden bu kadar. Haftaya yeniden görüşmek dileğiyle. Hoşça kalın.